A murderer in a costume? Yeah, this is the case of Liz Barraza, part 2. This is the second part of the Liz Barraza investigation. To get caught up, please go watch part 1 on my page and then come back. If you're new to the channel, I'm Bree, and here we talk about mysterious deaths that have fallen out of traditional media and try to keep their stories and names alive. Welcome to TCB, True Crime with Bree. You're so very appreciated. Let's get right back into the case. So we left off with Liz Barraza's parents pulling up to the scene and seeing cops surrounding their daughter's house, a parent's worst nightmare. They had got a notification through Liz's Ring doorbell, and they saw police in the yard. They found out someone had been shot, and then sadly it was confirmed it was their daughter Liz. Bob and Rosemary rushed to the hospital where their daughter is in critical condition. It turns out the police had tripped the alarm doing a check of the house after finding Liz in the driveway shot 4 times. Everyone was shocked. No one would want to hurt Liz. She had absolutely no enemies. Liz was alive, but being kept alive by machines. Her parents and Sergio decided to donate her organs, her last selfless act. Liz usually leaves for work at 6:30, but that morning she had took off work for the garage sale. They were leaving that Sunday for Disney. She had woke up and went to Starbucks at 6:08, so she had already left the house. And then the couple set up the things they were selling, and at 6:48 Sergio leaves and goes to Lowe's to meet his work crew for the construction site. His dad's construction site, he ran a work crew, so he went to Lowe's to meet them. Sergio knew that the doorbell Ring camera had recorded the sound, or maybe even saw the murder, so he rewinded it on the way home before he even got to the house, and he heard the shots. You can hear "good morning," gunshots, 3, and then a pause, and then another one, screams, and then silence. Shockingly, the neighbor had a camera that pointed directly to the Barraza's home that caught the entire murder on camera. So at 6:52, you can see a dark-colored truck. Seemingly, the person seems to be alone, and they pass by the Barraza home. Then they do a U-turn and they park down the street on the same side as the Barraza home. They walk up in white go-go boots and a white jacket or white long dress, or maybe even rain boots. They have long hair. This is all just things that I wrote down. It looks to be like a robe or rain boots, and I wrote wig ? And it seems to me that the person lifts their hand up and shows Liz something, and then shoots her 3 times, walks up to her while she's down, and then shoots her in the face. Then the person runs back to the truck, gets in the truck. This is all over in under a minute. Absolutely no one saw anything, and the truck is a Nissan Frontier, and it's either black or very dark gray or blue. Thank God that the neighbor heard the gunshots and called 911. He actually did hear and call 911. He did not see anything though, but the neighbor walks out, and while he's on the phone with 911, the truck comes back around, like almost to check and make sure she was down. That's what tells me that this was not a hired hit, that this was sloppy. This was a first timer. They wanted to make sure that she was dead. At first, the cops thought that this case was going to be open and shut. The person did not get a very big head start. The cops arrived within minutes, and they thought that this was targeted, that someone knew her personally, and they would ask her parents, who Liz was beefing with, or who Liz had problems with, or who Sergio had problems with, and they would tell them that they drove a black Frontier, and it would be a open and closed case. They had very high hopes. So they asked her parents, they asked Sergio, is there anyone that would want to cause Liz Barraza harm? And both of them said absolutely not. Sergio said he could only think of one woman in the whole world who didn't like her, and it was a girl in a Star Wars group, like a fan group for Star Wars, and she didn't like her, but it was nothing to, warrant murder. And Sergio says that he thinks someone robbed her at the garage sale. Remember, she only had $100 in cash, so I don't know what they would be robbing her for, and the $100 was not taken. But of course, police look at Sergio at the beginning because the spouse is always who the police first look at. Sergio didn't match the camera. They knew immediately that it wasn't him, just because of his height, his stature, his build. But he did give them access to everything, all electronics, all phones, even his life insurance policy. Weird thing I want to note is that it was documented that Sergio was told that he could leave the scene and go check on Liz, and did not leave the scene. Like, he stayed there for hours, and he talked to the media, he talked to neighbors. I mean, that was my first red flag, and we're not going to talk about my personal opinion. We're just talking about fact in this episode. So he did not leave. That is a fact. The detectives did think that something was off, especially with him worrying about her having the garage sale in the first place. Was this paranoia? Was this intuition? Was this him covering his tracks? Did he feel bad? His demeanor just overall seemed odd to the police. He seemed calm when listening to the doorbell camera directly after Liz's murder in the squad car. Like, he had a calm demeanor while showing them this video. But I mean, he could have just been in shock. The Nellies, her parents, are at the hospital and are, waiting to hear back, and he's not there. And when they're asked about this, they say that, they didn't really think, where's Sergio, because this was such a, mind-altering experience and they felt so out of their body. But they say Sergio is trustworthy and that he loves their daughter, and that they arranged that afternoon, January 26th at 1:40 p.m., they declared her dead and arranged for her to donate her organs. And they came to that conclusion together. They are very supportive of Sergio. I'm not going to lie, I think it's weird how supportive they are of Sergio. I don't know if they're living in La La Land a little bit, and I do not want to talk bad about her parents because, oh my God, they are the sweetest, most cutest couple, and they seem so sad over their daughter's death, but I do find it very odd how supportive they are of Sergio. After checking cameras, they actually find out that the Frontier was in the neighborhood at 2 a.m., not passing their house. So the Frontier did not pass their house, but they were riding around in the neighborhood. I don't know why, but that made me think maybe that they lived there in the neighborhood, or they were familiarizing themselves with the neighborhood, but I don't know. Like, if they were in the neighborhood at 2 a.m., why, and they were already up, why wouldn't they have just shot her when she left to go get Starbucks? It's almost like, I don't know. Like, that's weird. Why did they not shoot her when she went and got Starbucks? So Sergio left, and they parked outside the house 4 minutes later. So they knew that Sergio was leaving, or they had to know what his truck looked like. There was no shell casing, so they likely used a .38 caliber revolver because they keep the shell inside after they're shot. A lot of people think that this person was wearing a disguise. A lot of people think a stormtrooper costume. Princess Leia. I thought maybe a house robe. People say go-go boots, stormtrooper boots, rain boots. Almost like they were dressing up and they didn't want her to know who they were, or they knew that the cameras were there. I think that's also why they parked down where the Ring doorbell camera could not see them. But this person could have just driven by and shot her. Like, they did not have to get out of their car. They wanted her to walk up in that costume and her to see them, which is so eerie. Because of the costume, they look into all of the fan groups that she was in, the Comic-Con groups, and because anytime you have a lot of passionate people, there's bound to be conflict, and they're very passionate about these costumes and movies, and I'm not sure what all it entails in the Comic-Con world, but they're very invested. They check into the lady who had a problem with her and who had the minor disagreement with her, and they are convinced that she has absolutely zero involvement. And after looking at the whole roster, they don't think anyone in the league or group was involved. Sadly, you guys, we have ran out of time. Please like for part 3, and thank you for tuning in to TCB, True Crime with Bree. Until next time, mwah.